I don't mean to say this like to be disrespectful, and maybe this is some people are gonna think this sounds dumb, but I feel like there's a deeper reason why,
Yes, of
people of
course.
color and specifically the black community have been relentlessly persecuted. Like, I mean,
Go
just the
ahead.
things
Go
that
ahead.
happened during slavery alone, like, were insane. But I don't know, the more I learn about black history
Keep saying
and
it.
the ways that, people
Keep
who
saying
literally
it.
worked in the government, like the CIA, all these different people in power were trying to ruin the black community. And it makes me think, dude, I feel like, is there something more going on here than just racism? Because it's like, come on, you're telling me you're doing all of this stuff just because you don't like someone's skin color? I feel like, what if, I have this theory that, like, what if black people have some type of superpower? Like, what if they have, I don't know, if they're just born something with something very valuable that we don't really know about, but maybe, like I said, these people, these rich people and these people in power, maybe they figured it out a long time ago, and maybe that's why they were like, oh, we have to, like, get rid of them, blah blah blah. I don't know, I feel like maybe they have something special that we are not taught about, that is linked to them being people of color. And I've seen some black creators come on here and try to explain how special it is to have melanin. I don't mean to say this like to be disrespectful, and maybe this is, some people are going to think this sounds dumb, but I feel like there's a deeper reason why,
Yes, of
people of
course.
color and specifically the black community have been re-
All right, Shalom. First off, we give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone that teach and well. As always, peace and salutations unto the elect. All right, it's your brother Benaiah from the Great Millstone Dollars Branch coming back at you with a quick lesson. All right, I ran across this video on social media, and as you heard the young lady speaking, and that's a question that we all once had, you brothers and sisters that are now in the truth. We all, had that question or that thought about where does this hatred come from that the so-called white man has for the so-called Negro. All right. And I'm gonna read this caption of the video. It says, white woman says she believes white people, white people's hatred for black people runs deeper than just racism. It calls us, like it says, calls it something more personal and embedded. And it's true. You see, it's more than just, like the young lady was explaining, you got Jake so wrapped up in skin color, and it lets you know that if you're looking at this thing cornerly, it's nothing that you can, it's no answer that you could come up with that will make sense of why this hatred is so strong between the so-called white man, all right, and the so-called Negroes. Not only the so-called Negroes, all right, but the so-called Latin, Latinos and Native Americans as well. You see, it's more than just skin color, man. Even they, like this young lady is saying, it has to be something more. You see, which it is. All right, it's a spiritual thing, and the scriptures, all right, explains where that hatred comes from. This whole beef, all right, between the so-called white man, all right, and the tribes. You see, and it all goes back unto Jacob and Esau. Okay, well, let me get this real quick. Let's go to the real quick before I get into this. I want to grab this in the Book of Sirach. I'm going to read it in the GNT. All right. And I have another video as well that I want to play, but I want to get this in Sirach real quick. This is Sirach chapter 33. All right. In verse, let's see. I'm gonna start at verse 14. It says, good is opposite of evil, life is opposite of death, and sin is opposite of devotion to the Lord. It says, think about it. The Most High has made everything in pairs, each thing the opposite of something else. All right. And that's true. All right. Because this whole story of what we seeing being played out in these end times, all right, the main characters, all right, or the main two characters that the end times are really centered around, all right, is Jacob, all right, you so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, the real Hebrew Israelites, all right, and Esau, Edom, all right. the descendants of Esau himself, all right, the Edomites of these times, the self-proclaimed so-called white man. You see, when you read it, and prophecy is centered around that, all right, and it was always, all right, good set against evil, all right, when Jacob being the good versus Esau being the evil or the wicked, according to Malachi chapter 1 and verse 4, all right. And it even goes further. It even goes further back than that. Even it goes back unto Cain and Abel. There was always the story. All right, the wicked always tried to do away with the righteous. All right, and it came back into play. All right, with Jacob and Esau. Okay, that's where this hatred comes from. So let's go into it real quick. I'm just gonna get a couple of scriptures, man, and end it off. I'm gonna get Ezekiel chapter 35 real quick. It says Ezekiel 35 in verse I'm gonna start at the top and then jump down. Ezekiel 35 and 1, it says, moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir. It says, and prophesy against it. I'm gonna read that same verse in the NLT, verse 2. Son of man, turn and face Mount Seir and prophesy against its people. All right, because Mount Seir is it's symbolic for Esau Edom. Okay, so the Lord this is a prophecy concerning Esau Edom. All right, so let's jump down. I'm gonna continue reading verse 3 in the NLT. Give this message from the sovereign Lord. I am your enemy, O Mount Seir, and I will raise my fist against you to destroy you completely. I will demolish your cities and make you desolate. Then you will know that I am Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, but this is the point. I'm gonna jump back to the KJV, Ezekiel 35 and verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. All right. Because when you read throughout the scriptures, man, all right, Psalms 137 goes into it. When trouble came up on the tribes, man, Esau was always there, all right, to help forward that affliction, all right. Because as it says in the book of Psalms, chapter 83, these nations are ultimately confederate, all right, against Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, all right, and his hidden ones, man. All right, real quick. Then I'm going to go into this Genesis. But let's get the backdrop. We're going into the reason into why this stuff is taking place on the earth. The reason why you so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans are hated and looked down on wherever you go on the planet Earth, man. You see, the stigma comes from the way our people are looked at in the earth comes from the viewpoint of Esau, man. Because as the scripture says in the book of Psalms, all right, his tongue walking through the earth. You know, there's plenty of videos. I remember watching a video of these Jakes over there fighting in Vietnam. You know, and they were being interviewed, and they were saying how they would go out. You know, when they would have breaks during their fighting period, they would go out into they would go out to the villages and try to chill and drink and get women. You know, they say they would go to the bars and I think it's Ammon or Moab, one of them, whatever. It says they was over there, they was calling them nigga, 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 and the dude and the Jake was explaining like, how do they even know these words? What do they know what a nigga is? You see, it all stems from Esau Edom, all right. But going back, this is Psalms chapter 83 and verse 1. All right, it says, "Keep thou not silence, O most high, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, for lo thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against our people." You see, it says, and consulted against our hidden ones. And when you read in the scriptures, man, all these nations are enemies of the Most High. You see, all these nations hate the Most High. Why? Because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai always, destroyed their ass and was killing them, man, for Israel's sake. You see, it says, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more remembered in the earth. It says, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. All right, you see? So this is the point right here, verse 6. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites, of Moab and the Hagarenes, you see? And then it goes to name all the nations off, all right, who are against Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai and his people. All right, and it basically goes into all other nations, man. You see? But I wanted to get that point because the first nation, going back, until what we read in Ezekiel 35, that perpetual hatred, how Esau would always shed the blood of our people. You know, he was always there when you read Psalms 137. All right, he said, raise it. All right, even to the foundation thereof. He was always in the mix of trying to get us destroyed, man. You see? And just like it says right here in Psalms 83 and verse 6, Esau was the first nation mentioned. You see? Because that's that beef, man. That's that beef that you know that you can't explain cornerly, man. You know, like the going back into what the chick was saying. You know, you got some Jakes coming on. You know, some Jakes coming on there talking about meddling, meddling. Hey, all other nations got meddling, meddling. You know what the fuck I'm saying, man. You know, pardon my French, but you get it. Meddling, well, whatever. All right. All other nations got that in some form except Esau. But what that doesn't make you special, man. If that's the case, Ham would be special. He got that nigga dark as fuck. You know. So meddling doesn't make you special. You see, it all goes back into who you are. You see the spirit, what nation you come from, and all these nations. And Esau, Edom hates us. Why? All right, and we're gonna get this story in Ezekiel. I mean, not Ezekiel, but Genesis, man. Before we go there, real quick, I'm gonna go back to Ezekiel 35 and 5 again. Read it one more time. Ezekiel 35 and 5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamities, in the time that their in the time of their calamities, in the time that their iniquity had an end. But I want to get this word perpetual real quick. All right. The Strong's H 5769. Our lam. All right. It says a long duration. All right. Forever, everlasting. You see, an ancient, an old. All right. So where does this hatred come from? It says it's an ancient hatred. It's an old, it's an everlasting hatred. Well, let's get it. All right. It all stems from the story of Jacob and Esau, man. Because when you read in Genesis 25 and the birth of Jacob and Esau, even in the womb, all right, even in the womb they were fighting. Before they even came out the womb, all right, they was already beefing. You see, it was a struggle. That's why Rebecca, all right, went to the prophet to inquire of Yahweh Shem Shai on why this was going on. You see, and the Lord continue to express to her. Let's go to Genesis chapter 25 and verse 21. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was a barren, and the Lord wasn't and it's like it says, and the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived, and the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. All right, and the Lord is going to explain to her why this was happening. It says, and the Lord said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. You see? So out of Rebekah came two nations. You see, the nation of Israel, all right, and the nation of Edom. You see, and like I said, even in the womb they were struggling together, man. When you get this word real quick, you get that word for struggle. It's ratazah. Ratazas. I think I'm saying that right. But it says to crush, to oppress. You see, to be broken. It says to grievously oppress, to crush each other. You see, so they was getting down, man. You see. They was getting down in the womb, man. Okay, and that continued even after their birth, man. You see. So let's keep going real quick, and it goes on to explain that one people shall be stronger than the other. And we know that one people that's going to be stronger than the other is going to be Jake. You see, and it's clear to see even in these times that our people are clearly stronger than Esau, Edom, or the so-called self-proclaimed white man. You see. The only advantage that this man has is that, of course, the Lord got us under these curses, all right, for our punishment, but also Esau, the Lord blessed Esau with the sword, you see? and this is where this perpetual hatred is going to come from when we get in Genesis chapter 27. All right, so let's go to it real quick. Before I get that, let's go to it real quick. So jumping back to Genesis 25, you got to remember, like the Lord was prophesying unto Rebekah, the oldest shall serve the younger. So you got to keep this in mind when you continue reading down in Genesis 25, how the Lord had it play out to where Esau ended up giving up his birthright unto Jacob. You see, so it was always prophesied that it was never Esau's to begin with. You see, even before they were born, the Lord had already told Rebekah, basically he chose uh, uh, Jake over Esau. You see, the older shall serve the younger. So let's go into it. Genesis chapter 27. See if a good point I can start real quick. Where's my other brother I gave him servants? Okay, let's start at verse. I'm gonna start up, man, because Esau, it's like I laughed when somebody Esau wept. He started crying, man. All right, so let's go up, man. Let's go. Let's get it. Genesis chapter 27 and verse 30. It says, "And it came to pass as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting." Yeah, because that's what. Hey, you got to go read. If you haven't read this chapter, for you brothers and sisters that's just new into the faith, go read this chapter. You see, but I'll give you a little backdrop. Basically, it was coming up to the time to where Isaac was getting to that point to where he was about to die, and he wanted to bless his sons. He told Esau to go out and and get some go hunting and get some venison, if I'm not mistaken. All right, get some, what I'm saying, and bring him, cook for him and bring it to him, and he'll bless him. So while Esau was out hunting, all right, Rebecca had overheard what was going on, and she went and told Jacob, because she loved Jacob more than Esau. So she helped Jacob supplant, and go read it for yourselves. I'm just giving you a backdrop. All right. So she went and she basically helped Jacob get the blessing. But you got to remember, when you read this, a Christian say, "Oh, Jacob stole it. Jacob stole it." No, the Lord prophesied it from their birth, before their birth, what would take place. You see. So that's another thing that these Christians can't get over, man. How everything plays out in the spirit. You see how the Lord sets stuff up. They can't get over the fact, he stolen. How can he steal something that wasn't even his to begin with? You know what I'm saying? When you read in Genesis 25, it was the Lord told him, "Hey, the older shall serve the younger." You see, the Lord just had it play out like this. You see, in order to fulfill that prophecy. Okay, so let's keep going. Verse 31. He said also. It's like he also had made savory meat and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, "Let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me." And Isaac his father said unto him, "Who art thou?" And he said, "I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau." It says, and Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, "Who? Where is he that hath taken venison and brought it to me? And I had eaten of all before thou comest, and had blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed." Right? You see? It's that blessing that the Lord had promised unto Jacob. All right, let's keep going. It says, "And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceedingly bitter cry. And he said unto his father, Bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, Thy brother came with subtlety, and had taken away thy blessing." You see? It says, and he said, It is not, and he said, is not he rightly named Jacob? But he hath supplanted me these 2 times. It says, he took away my birthright, and behold, now he have taken away my blessing. You're right, it wasn't yours to begin with, bro. You know, because the first one, hey, he got the blessing there, so he got the birthright. That's the blessing. You see. So let's keep going. It says, and he said, Hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac, that's the point. And Isaac, well, now going down to the point, Salakia. And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy Lord. And see, the older shall serve the younger, right? It says, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me even also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. And by the sword thou shalt live, and thou shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou hast the dominion that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Right? You see? So Esau, now we in the fullness of Esau's blessing. You see? We're in the fullness of his blessing right now. So that's why we see this technology like it is, and he's trying to supplant, he's trying to steal the birthright from Jacob. So that's that whole question to where she's saying it's something more personal and deeper. Well, that's it. You see, and this is the point in verse 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning my father are at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob. You see? So there you go. That's where that hatred, all right, that we see that the so-called white man has for you so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans. And it's not only, all right, the so-called Negroes, man. You see, just like the apostles say, man, the northern kingdom get it first, but the southern kingdom get it the worst, man. You see? So, hey, it's just like we see it now, man. You see, it's happening now. All right, it's happening with the northern kingdom. Now it's going to be the southern kingdom, and it's all going. It's centered around the Judah, because Judah is the head tribe, man. You see, so that's why she's saying the Negro, but it all trickles down. That's why we see the northern kingdom catching hell, the same hell that we catch, man. You see, it's just intensified on the tribe of Judah because he's the head. You see, so that's what that hatred. That's what that we can never get. It ain't nothing that you can do. All right, you so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native American, you can smile all the fuck you want. You can you can bring the nigga sandwiches every day. He's gonna always hate you, man. You know, the priest Bathak always bring the point up about Jake can get shot with their hands up, hands down, laying down on the ground with their hands up. You can get all kind of ways you can get shot, man. You see, and this is one particular video with his Jake was a caretaker to a handicapped person, and the police, pulled him over. The dude was on the ground and he shot him, and he shot Jake while he was on the ground with his hands up, man. And Jake asked him, man, why you shoot me? And the nigga was like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? He don't even know, because it's spiritual, man. You see, it's spiritual when it comes. It's that spiritual friction that was started with our forefathers, man. Even in the wound, and it's playing out, all right, in these times, man. Because when you look it up, when you continue reading, Jacob and Esau reunited. All right, the actual man Esau and our forefather Jacob reunited. All right, and the Lord was with Jake. All right, to ultimately supplant Esau and curve his anger to where everything was good between them, man. But his descendants, Esau, the Edomites, never forgot. All right, that it continued on, that hatred passed down on to generation after generation, man. You see, until these times that we in right now. All right. So that's why that's the answer to why does the so-called white man and the so-called Negro can't get along? Why is it hatred? You know what I'm saying? I want to play this last little clip, man, real quick. Let's go to it.
Follow you, and I'm not going to follow you and give you birth for protection. I'm telling you, for your own benefit, you had better turn around and get out of this area. You're not going to the courthouse in a group under conditions that you come here, and I'll assure you that.
All we would like to do, sir, is to go to the
courthouse is closed. There's no business there.
We don't want to go in the courthouse. All we want to do is go to the lawn of the courthouse, kneel in prayer, and we'll gladly return.
You take your prayers back to your church. That's the proper place to pray. Sir, I'm sure that God will hear your prayer just as well down there as it will up here, but you're not going on this courthouse alone.
Sir, whenever there are men who are in sinful conditions, prayer should be uttered wherever they are.
Well, why don't you pray where you are? Go back down there and pray. You think you're lily white? You think you're not sinful? Well, then go back to your church and pray.
Well, sir, can we pray together, you and I?
You do your praying, I do mine, big boy. You don't pray for me. I don't want you to pray for me.
Well, will you pray for us?
Because I don't think your prayers get above your head.
Well, will you pray for us?
No, I'm not going to pray for you. I'll tend to my business, you tend to yours. Now, you better move these people out of here.
Sir,
we're trying to protect you.
Sir,
I don't have to love anybody I don't want to love.
Sir,
You do your own loving. You love your little niggas. I love who I please.
do you believe in equal justice for all?
I believe in justice.
Do you believe in equal?
I don't believe in equal nothing. There's no two people in this world alike, and they are not equal on any terms or conditions. There's no two peas in the world alike. No two pieces of money nor nothing else.
And so are you saying that if I have a quarter and I'm black and you have a quarter and you white, then my quarter isn't as worth as much as your quarter?
That's your quarter. I'll
Is my quarter is worth?
I'll decide what my quarter is worth. You use yours and I'll use mine.
You try you a catfish sandwich and yours.
Oh man, he told that nigga to buy a catfish sandwich with with his fucking quarter, man. You see? And hey, Jake was begging Esau, man. You know, come on, can we do this, please, please, just love me. This nigga hates you, man. There's nothing you damn Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans can do. It ain't enough cooning in the fucking world for this goddamn devil to love you and accept you, man. And you about to find out. You see? You about to find out the hard way for not listening to the mans that the Lord set up, starting with our apostles, all right, the bishop and elders of Great Millstone, and like-minded men on down. You see, that's been telling you what it is, man. That this man is a serpent, a snake that you can't trust, man. You see, like it says in Sirach 13, we ain't gonna pity you niggas, man. Cause we told you that you was playing with a dangerous animal, man. You see? And Esau was right about that, man. You ain't no two things alike, man. We ain't nobody equal. Thus saith the scriptures, man. Let's get it real quick and I'm gonna end it off, man. But that just shows you, man, ain't nothing Jay can do. It's nothing Jay can do, man, to make this devil accept. You can't change this man. Like the scripture saying, Jeremiah, can an Ethiopian change his skin or a leopard change his spot? Then may he who is accustomed to do evil do good? Hell no, man. Because the Lord made this man this way. He made, all right, this man to hate you. He made us to be enemies, man. That's just how the story goes, man. All right. The protagonist and the antagonist, man. There's the Jacob being the protagonist, Esau being the antagonist. It ain't gonna never get along, man. You see? But this is back in Sirach chapter 33, and I'm reading the GNT in verse 7. And right above this verse, it says, people are not alike. It says, we are why are some days holier than others, even though the same sun rises on each day of the year? It is because the Lord made them different by setting them apart as religious holidays and festivals. He made some days holy and important and made other days ordinary. Even human beings are made from the earth just as Adam was, but the Lord in his wisdom made them all different and gave them different tasks. He blessed some and making them honored and holy, keeping them near him. All right, Jake. All right. You so-called you Negro Latinos and Native Americans, you Israelites. Others he cursed, humbled them, and removed them far from their position. You see? So there you have it, man. You see, Jay. Esau was right, man. Ain't nobody all that whole you so-called Negroes are the only ones who believe in that shit, man. You Jakes are the only one to believe everybody is equal. We're equal. We equal, but who the fuck jumping from the goddamn gym, man? You is, man. You don't see Esau jumping from the fucking free throw line. You don't see Esau beating these goddamn track records. All right, these damn, these sprint records and all this, man. Who make the best music? Who cooked the best? Who danced the best? Who sing the best? If everybody equal, everybody be on the same level, man. But the Lord didn't make us like that. The Lord made us better than these people, man. Even in our lower state. You see? I just wanted to bring that out, man, because Jake, man, that's why. If you ain't never know why, the so-called white man hates you, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, now you know. All right, because you got that blessing, and he's trying to get it back via his technology. That's why he wants to push this technology. That's why we're seeing all these laws being passed, man. All right. So, Lord willing, you brothers and sisters, edified, man. It went longer than I thought and expected. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone that teach and rule well. As always, peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.